I'm not pulling out of the driveway. We all know what that means. It's time for the drive to work, coronavirus edition. Okay, I've been using my time at home to do interviews with coworkers and past coworkers to talk about making magic. Today I have Mark Heggen, and we're going to talk about Secret Lair. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing very good. So this is something, most of the time when I talk to people, it's something that the two of us have worked a lot on. I've done a little bit of work on Secret Lair, but not a lot. But this is your baby, so I brought you in so we can talk about the origins of Secret Lair and sort of what Secret Lair, like sort of the philosophy that's evolved on Secret Lair.
Right.
So let's go back to the very beginning, before there was a Secret Lair. Where did the idea come from in the first place? Why? How did we ever come up with this idea?
Yeah. All right. So I joined Wizards in 2016. I moved out here, started learning how the machine worked, and after about a year of just kind of like orienting myself and getting handle on things, we started running into this pattern where there were a lot of good ideas for interesting cards people wanted to make. Some of the ideas were mine or other people from creative, people from various parts of the building would have a lot of ideas, as we always do. And I realized that many of the ideas, we agreed they sounded like fun. We smiled when we imagined these cards existing, but for very good reasons, we could not make them. And so it kind of fell into three themes that were causing these no's. One is that Magic is at the time, Magic was very slow. Before Secret Lair, I mean, Magic is still slow. It takes a long time to make a set of Magic cards. And so we're working years down the road. And so unless you have an idea that is, you have it now, but we're excited to release it and confident to release it, 2 or 3 years from now, that's one reason we could say no. It's kind of like, well, it'll take too long. Also, Magic, before we had Secret Lair and before we had Booster Fun, Magic just needed to creatively have a pretty tight wall around it. I mean, different sets would go from, would have different creative vibes. Different products had their own energy. The sets look different set to set. But once you're within a set, there's a pretty tight wall around what makes sense to put in that world. We have an art style that that is just beautiful, and we do so much work. But it works so well because it holds together, and just creatively and the energy. So we had a lot of ideas for cards that we thought sounded like fun, but you can't just put that on Ixalan. You can't put this illustration style in Dominaria. We can't, Ravnica doesn't have that kind of vibe or energy. And so we would have to say no to a lot of ideas there. And then the third idea was just that, again, we didn't have any places to put them. Like we didn't have Booster Fun. We didn't do a lot of different products. Every year we do maybe a Comic-Con exclusive, which could have a small number, or we do a few promo cards that would go to judges, those kind of things. But most of the time, it's like, look, we have a few giant ships that are moving. They're sets. And if you can fit into those, we can maybe find a home for you. But if you're a card that just doesn't fill up an entire set or isn't the premise of a whole world, we just didn't have really a home for you. And so those three things were just a big theme to kind of my second year here. We just kept saying no to card in a way that felt disappointing. It felt frustrating because they sounded like fun.
Yeah, another thing I just want to explain to people is we work in such large numbers that our systems are made for large numbers, that when you get to small numbers, our systems just don't work. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's like, okay, let's say we're going to do a small print run of cards and we want stores to sell them. Like, if this print run is small enough, there's more stores than there are cards. You know what I'm saying? It's right. like some cards get one, some stores get one card. Like, it just doesn't work in a system that works. And so another thing that I definitely think that Secret Lair was trying to solve too was, like, sometimes you have systems and those systems do certain things really well, but they can't do other systems. They're just not made to do it. And I think the audience, one of the things that's hard for Magic players to understand is there's a lot of behind the scenes of logistics and printing, and there's all these things that we have to care about to actually make the set, and that just wanting it, it being cool it existed doesn't make those systems go away. And so one of the things the Secret Lair also brought to the table was, here's a completely new way to do things that allows us to do things right. There was no set that could let us do that before.
Exactly. Yeah. As you said, like, you might have a cool illustrator that draws really funny kitty cats, but unless you're prepared to print a tremendous number of the card and put it into all of the boosters on the planet and then ship that to everywhere around the world. Unless you think it works at that scale, you don't really have a home for that kitty cat, because it just, as you said, the whole system is predicated on these giant runs of these big sets. And so it just ended up having less homes for the experiments than we wanted.
Yeah, a lot of times people, I mean, one thing that's very interesting, people ask me all the time, why can't we do thing X or thing Y? And some of the times is we don't want to or whatever, you know, there's reasons mechanically or whatever not to do them. But sometimes the reason is, from a business standpoint, we don't have the structure to do that thing, and that it takes a lot. You're like, for example, just making a booster that doesn't have 15 cards in it is asking for the world. People don't realize this, but I mean, just asking for that is a giant, giant ask. Because not only are you changing the size of the booster, you're changing the size of the box, you're changing shipping, like you're changing 8,000 things that you don't even realize, and that to the audience out there is like, oh, just make a different size booster. They're like, well, a lot comes with that, and I think that, a lot of what you were solving was, hey, could we deliver something in a way that people would love? And not just, another interesting thing about this product is, there are things that a small number of people would adore, and the larger audience wouldn't care less about, right? That's another big thing about Secret Lair is, before, it's like either everybody loved it, or, a certain amount, or it was hard to do. You couldn't just say, this tiny portion would absolutely love this, but the rest wouldn't care. Our systems didn't let you do that. And I think Secret Lair said, well, what if we could make something that this small sliver would love beyond compare? No one else might care, but they would care that this could do stuff like that we could do very, very fine-tuned ideas.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. I think of something like, I think back in their day, our idea of kind of a niche appeal product might be something like an unset. We know that not every fan is super into unsets, and so it's kind of a subset, but actually it's a pretty big chunk. I mean, I don't know the exact number, but if you line up 10 Magic fans in a room and you say, raise your hand if you like unsets, we know it's not for everyone, but you're going to get a lot of hands raised, and that's a niche product at the time.
Right, and that's a niche product that, right. And we're talking about...
We wanted something that went all the way down to one. Like if I can get 100 Magic fans, and I can get 2 of you to raise your hands about something really blowing your mind and making you smile, it was just so wonderful to imagine being able to give you that. And it's okay that the other 98 people, it wasn't for them. And we just, as you say, we just didn't have a machine that could really do that.
Okay, so you recognize this. So the first big idea is, hey, can we make this product that allows us to make things we can't make right now?
Right. So yeah, we started with that. We kind of started with that moment where there's someone out there and they see this thing and they want it and they get it, and then we worked backwards, and there's a lot of challenges, and we kind of lined them up and then just took them on. So one is, how do you, what is this thing? Is it a set? Are we making a set of cute cat cards? No, that's too heavy. So we said, okay, maybe it's just a little handful of cards. We kind of settled on like maybe around 5. Okay, well then how would you even sell this thing? Because as you said, it doesn't work. We can't print hundreds of thousands of units of this and then ask stores to take it on as inventory, and then we don't know how many people that want it, and it's probably a pretty small number. So we said, okay, we don't think this works just running through stores the way that we run our regular booster products. It's just not built for that. We need something that's more targeted, that people around the universe can kind of opt in or out, and we're not putting all this pressure on a store owner to take on this huge inventory load of a product that may or may not sell to the customers that happen to be in their store.
Yeah, let me explain that real quick. That's another really good point, which is, so another thing we have to worry about is there are store owners, right? So if you're a store owner, you have an inventory, meaning you spend your money, you buy things, and the way you get the money back is you sell the things that you buy. And so one of the things that's really important, if you're, this is true for any retail, we care about game owners just because we're selling games. We have to be careful not to make too many what we call niche products such that the store owner buys it and then nobody walks in the store to get it. And what you're saying is, hey, maybe we'll make something that 1 out of 100 people want. You know what I'm saying? So a store owner could make it and none of those people ever walk in the store. And so it's a really hard product to go through that channel because we don't want the store owners to buy something they don't know for sure they can sell. And so once again, the system doesn't really match the need of the product.
Exactly right. So yeah, we had to think differently about how we sell these things. As many of your listeners will know, to date we had never sold anything this way. Wizards, if you went to the Wizards of the Coast website, there was no store button. there's no place to enter your credit card. Wizards doesn't sell Magic cards at the time. And so that's the world we were in. And so we had to kind of rethink that and work with the entire building and the entire ecosystem and really think, okay, what is an interesting, responsible, appropriate way to figure out ways to kind of, again, reach through the universe, find the few people who want this, and not force other people like third-party store owners into a relationship that may or may not work for them. And to be clear, like, as we're spinning this up and kind of brainstorming this, we have no idea how these are going to sell. We have no idea how they're going to sell relative to another. Like in the room, we can think, I bet some people would want kitty cat cards, and other people would say, I bet people would want cards by this artist or with this theme. But we all agree, we just don't know. We can't. We have guesses, but they're just guesses, and so we had to figure out a way to go into this knowing that we were playing in a new territory, and we couldn't be too confident that we knew how this was going to work out.
Right, and so once again, one of the things we do in Magic normally is we have to set numbers. That there's a lot of people that are, we have all these people that are really good at numbers, but there's a point early in the product, long before anyone buys the product, like we have to sort of predict how much we're going to sell. And we do reprints and this and that. I mean, if it's large enough, you can do things like reprints. But the problem here is, right, we're making something that, do 1,000 people want it? Do 2,000 people want it? Do 10,000 people want it? We don't know. And right, that completely flies in the face of how we make cards. So, like, one of the interesting little themes as we run through this, hopefully for the audience, is what Mark and his team did is made a product that fit nothing that we did. It's very wall breaking in the, like, it took all of our existing systems and said, well, none of our systems do this. What if we did this? So, it definitely is an interesting story and, like, right, let's find a product and figure out how to make that product exist in a way that was a huge, huge challenge. One of the reasons I find this story very fascinating is, as someone inside the building who gets all the stuff you're talking about and has watched this for years, like, when you first said you wanted to do this, I'm like, wow, is that doable? Like, it really was a big question mark.
It's interesting. It reminds me, so for most of the kind of pre-planning of Secret Lair, we were planning to do them as limited print runs. So our plan for most of the time leading up to it was we will take our best guess of how many people are going to want these. We'll print that many and we'll sell that many. And once those are gone, then it will be sold out. We do want these. We want people who want these to have them, but we also want them to be collectible. We don't want these to just feel like just kind of like, I don't know, blowing around the ground. We wanted them to feel special. If you made the effort to show up for one of these sales, we wanted for you to have something that you could be proud of a year from now. So we were kind of on track to pick a number using our guess and then print that many and then let them sell out. And it was only very close. It was very, very late in the game. We were getting weeks away from actually launching the first one of these. We did a lot of thinking. I remember I had this one car ride. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I think so here's my memory of the story. Tell me if this is correct or not. So we were doing something somewhere else. Like, there's other limited things we do. I don't know whether it was like selling San Diego Comic-Con cards online, or it was something in which it was something where people had to go to a place at a time to get something. Right. And it sold out instantaneously. And the audience was really upset because people were like, I literally showed up when I was told to show up, and I wasn't able to purchase the thing. And it made us go, oh, like, we don't want to, like, say, hey, there's this thing, and then if you are 2 minutes late, you just can't get the thing. Like, right, that I think what happened was, before this product existed, we had similar things, and the audience had such a negative feeling but I want to buy it, why can't I buy this the day you sell it? And I think that shaped a lot of this philosophy, right?
Exactly. Yeah, totally true. And, I think one of the things that it kept us in that space for so long is we looked around the rest of the world and we kept seeing other examples of people doing it that way. So we looked at other collectibles or, sneaker releases or limited edition. And we said, well, yeah, they're doing that. They're picking a number. It's selling out. Sometimes it sells out in 1 minute or 1 hour. And so I think, I don't know, it was a good lesson for me. It was easy to kind of use that as evidence of, like, it's okay. That's just how the world needs to work. And we win a lot. We just assume that that's how it should work for a while.
Real quick, I have to jump in real quick, just because you said this. So I have to, for those that might not know Mark by visuals, like, I'm throwing a name. He just mentioned shoes. So Mark collects shoes. So if you've ever seen the magic guy with all the shoes behind him, that's who Mark is.
That's me. So I was going home. I was working at Wizard all day. I was waking up early in the morning to do these sneaker releases, and that was a big part of my thinking. And that's a world where sometimes these things sell out immediately. Sometimes bots will show up and buy out all the inventory before you can get a chance. And it's frustrating. It's not, sometimes that's how certain things will work, and that's the appropriate way to sell things. But, as we got closer, we said, Secret Lair is supposed to be something that's fun. It's supposed to be something people can feel good about. It's not for everyone. Not everyone, it's optional. But let's double check ourselves. Are we making this as welcoming as possible? And so at the kind of late in the game, based on the learnings, the experiences you mentioned, and just kind of ruminating, we pivoted to this other model of what we call time boxed to demand, which is kind of an unusual thing. We made up those words. And the idea is we said, look, let's just pick a window. Let's pick whether it's a day or a week or a month. I'd say, if you show up during this window, we gotcha. And for the Secret Lair drop series, which was kind of our flagship product line within Secret Lair, we'll sell them that way. And we will, if you make the effort and you show up, we will get you these cards. It might take us a while because now we have to wait and print them afterwards, but we will do our parts. And so that became the main way that we sold these things.
Okay, so before we get into, there's some fun stories about doing the very first one, but I want to, the question people always ask, so I'm going to ask you. I think I might know the answer, but I'm curious what the actual answer is. Why is it called Secret Lair? Where did that name come from?
Yeah, so we did a bunch of brainstorming. We wanted to give it an identity to this so people could have an opinion. We knew the art was going to be so different and the content would be so varied. We wanted to have a kind of a sub brand, we call it, within Magic. Mm-hmm. So we did a lot of brainstorming, and a few of us were brainstorming. We came up with 100 ideas. Nothing quite felt right. And then we were walking back through the pit, and we saw there's a sign up.
Okay, I'm indirectly responsible for this.
There's a sign up which was the informal name or the semi-formal name.
So what happened was R&D moved on the third floor. We moved to a new section, and we made this new section where there's these tables where you could play test.
Right.
So I got the idea. So back in Unglued 2, I made a card called R&D Secret Lair that said never happened. I then put it on Unhinged, and we made new art for it. But anyway, there's a card called R&D Secret Lair. So I printed a giant version of the card, and I put it up on the wall by this area. And then R&D just started calling it R&D Secret Lair. That was the name of the area, because I put the card up there. Anyway, it just was a running joke from long ago about, like somehow we sit in our vault. And anyway, it was just a joke from an unset many, many years ago. And I put the card up, but that's what I thought you saw is the giant card that I put up that said R&D Secret Lair.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a perfect fit. The whole vibe we're going for is that, look, they're kind of a secret. They're weird. Maybe your friends don't know about them, but you do. And also, the idea is that the whole point of these are cards that the group of people who makes Magic, some of us are passionate about every Secret Lair card we've made. Like, all of these come from a place of someone here in these offices saying, like, this is fun. This artist is cool. This idea is funny. This makes me smile. Let's get it made. And then we're able to bring them to life in this real rapid fire way. So it felt like a good vibe for that kind of, from the heart of Secret Lair and from our hearts and minds out into the world. So
I remember the very first, so here's a story I'm curious to hear your take on.
Yeah.
Okay, the very first Secret Lair was 5 Secret Lairs, I think. There were 5 at once.
Maybe
some number, 5, 6, 7, some number. So the idea was we had no idea, like literally, one of the big questions was, okay, which of these are going to be successful? And we had this little vote which one you think is going to be the best selling of them. So talk a little bit about that experience of okay, for the very first time we put that out there.
Yeah, it was so fun. Yeah, we had this batch. It's funny. We look back at them now. Some are pretty tame. I think they're all a little bit weird, but some are relatively tame. We had these Eldraine Wonderlands, for example. Those are snowlands set on Eldraine, which is kind of, if you're deep in, that Eldraine doesn't have a snow mechanic, so it's unusual that we would make such a thing. But they look like beautiful, basically, our snowlands. We had kind of cartoony goblins. We had a Bitter Blossom pack. So we kind of were trying some different things on. We did not know how they would do. As you say, we found over time that one of our best predictive tools was to just ask. We would pull all of the building. We'd pull all of R&D. Which of these do you plan on buying, and which of these do you think will sell well? And then if you kind of aggregate that together, so we had some sense then. Also, frankly, we also didn't know the whole machine was new. We had built this website. We had worked with a partner who was actually fulfilling these and mailing these. All of our communications and PR and marketing, all of that was new for this. We're used to selling sets, which are these big things with a trailer, and this was very different in every way. So we got together that morning and we're like, let's see what happens. And we opened up the store, and we all held our breath, waiting to see if any of the numbers moved, because there's so many ways this could have gone wrong.
And by the way, I remember there was a screen, like we were watching, like literally as each person would purchase, the numbers would change, and we kept checking in all like how the numbers, how the thing's doing, and then, I think we had like what we wanted. I think there were like low numbers and high numbers, like we'll be happy if we get to these numbers, we'll be ecstatic if we get to these numbers,
Right. And it's funny because I think I've worked in digital gaming and mobile gaming, and that's kind of, there's whole buildings that are looking at screens all day and reacting real time. Most of Magic doesn't get to do that. We make a set, and honestly, I don't think people at home, like, the feedback loops are very slow. We will have a set on sale for weeks before we really understand how it's behaving and how it's working in the marketplace. And this is the opposite. All of a sudden, we're like in real time, we're watching tick, 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 tick. We're watching the kind of horses race to see, will Eldraine Wonderlands be more or less popular than the Goblins and that kind of stuff. It was a real thrill.
So obviously the first one's a success. The other thing, the audience, we try things all the time, and that one of the idea of trying things is they don't work, they don't work. So like no one knew, like Secret Lair was an idea. If it failed miserably, then okay, it was a one-shot thing, and Magic's done a lot of things we did once, and then we moved on. So when did you know it's a success? Like what was the first metric of, I bet we're making more of these?
It was a couple days into the sale. We weren't sure kind of what the if people were going to all buy these at the beginning and then it would just fall off a cliff, or kind of what that curve across the sale would be. But once we got a few days in, we saw what was performing. We saw that the system was working and that people were, kind of like literally able to get the confirmation email and all that stuff. And we started looking at and really sitting down and looking at the reactions, talking to people and seeing what people were saying about these. We realized, yeah, you know what? We pulled it off. Like, clearly these aren't for everyone. Some people, not everyone certainly likes any given piece of this art. But every piece of art we put there had some fans. We were really diligent about looking around and trying to kind of earnestly assess what's working for people, what are people reacting to, what are people challenged by, what's boring for people. And so, frankly, kind of halfway through that first sale, we were already planning, okay, I think we can do this again, and let's keep going.
Okay, so what were the lessons? Like, what has proven to be what Secret Lair works best as Secret Lair?
Yeah, so I think, to be clear, this is still a thing we're learning. We have meetings every week, including yesterday. We had meetings where we're trying to kind of learn this in real time. There's so much going on. But, yeah, I think, some of the stuff we learned right away was we get better resonance and excitement with stuff that looks farther afield. So the cards that we put through Secret Lair that just look more interesting and less like a regular Magic card tend to resonate more widely. It's not always the case, but that's kind of a theme you can see. So when we've done stuff like, we didn't do it to start, but later on we started doing what we call like a full illustration card, where the artist is writing the text and drawing their version of the mana symbols, that kind of stuff. Those things, they have a lot of fans. Those things are able to kind of break through the noise. Basic lands were a big one. When we started this thing, I think some of us, I was always pushing to put basic lands in this. And there was a lot of people just weren't sure. Like, who's going to pay this much money and wait this long to get a swamp? You can get a swamp. People will just give them to you for free at the game store. And we realized, no, there are a home. There's a lot of people. I'm one of those people. I all my commander decks, I do try to kind of theme out all the basic lands. It means a lot to me when I play an island on turn one, but it's an island that no one else at the table has seen. And so basic lands are a thing that you've seen us do a lot of because they make people happy, and it's something that people can. If you like that art style, you can kind of guarantee a home for that in your deck, and you can show it off a little bit.
And every decks have basic lands. I mean, it's something that every deck needs, so it's a very usable resource.
Right, exactly. Yeah, beyond that, I don't know, man. We're learning every day. We're trying. Some are very humorous, some are very serious, some are dramatic. Some we introduced the artist series where we pick some of our great all-time Magic artists who do Magic cards for us already, and we say, hey, go for it. Like, you tell us, we'll work with you. You tell us the cards you want to make. We won't even send you an art brief. The art brief we send them is like, do your thing. We're just surprised when it comes back in. That's been a total thrill. We're doing more of that. It's super fun.
I mean, one of the things that I've enjoyed, so like every once in a while we have a meeting where like we see like upcoming, like you guys for the first time you announce all the stuff we're doing, and I've really enjoyed the creativity. Like we just keep doing, in some level crazier and crazier things, and it's always fun to sort of see what we can do. And I think you're right. The more not traditional it is, the more people out there. Like one of the truisms I have is that it's more important that somebody loves something than everybody like it. That, like, when I'm making a card, what I want is the person I want somebody who's really, really going to enjoy that card to play it and love it. And if other people don't like it, hell, if other people hate it, it doesn't matter. I mean, we want to make sure everybody has something they love. But I think this plays into that very much so. It's like, look, this is very niche. It is very for a specific player, but the player that should love this should just love it to tears. And I think that's done a really good job of being that.
Exactly. And then, it's great because we can do so much of that. Secret Lair can learn on that. We can, do sequels or extend it more. We can also take some of those learnings and put them into the rest of Magic. Like now that we have things like Booster Fun and Showcase cards, I think the work we've done on Secret Lair has really helped that work because we've proven, look, people have high tolerances, that people are excited for some of this stuff. People are okay with cards that look less traditional, and so it kind of helps us elevate on a bunch of fronts, which has been really exciting.
Okay, so I'm not too far from my desk here, so two last things I just want to hit real quickly.
Yep.
One is, so another thing that we've been doing more is what I would call sort of connected Secret Lairs, where they're tied to a product. That's right. Something more where we'll put out a product and then, hey, here's a Secret Lair that's connected to that product. So it's not directly in that product, but it is thematically tied to it. Where did those come from?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think originally that's actually something that wasn't really on my roadmap, but people kept saying like, hey, we started doing showcase cards. So now these sets a set would have its own frame technique. And someone asked the question like, well, should Secret Lair get in on the fun? Like, what if Secret Lair took that, that the set needs to have cards from the set in that frame, obviously.
Yeah.
But Secret Lair could take that same frame and put it on older reprints. And we're not putting them into standard. We're just making cards that kind of tie in. We did it with Godzilla. So, we had Godzilla show up in Ikoria, and that was on creatures. But we said, what about basic? How cool would it be to have a mountain with Godzilla climbing up the side of it? And so, again, that we could launch it at the same time, and it could be a place to kind of keep the party going. Kind of like we don't have to force everything into the packs now. If it's not a natural home, we can let Secret Lair just kind of join in on the fun.
Okay, the last thing, this is the most controversial thing, but I'll sneak this in before we end, has been new content / other properties.
Right.
So, Walking Dead was the first one. We've announced like Stranger Things and stuff like that. So where did that come from? And that definitely is pushing in interesting boundaries. Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, the real point of Secret Lair is to try stuff. It is our experiments laboratory. And so we, as we started thinking about stuff like Universes Beyond and what would it look like to invite, the cast from Stranger Things into Magic overall, Secret Lair quickly became it kind of prevailed as a pretty powerful place for us to start testing that. We weren't ready to start doing a whole set of Walking Dead cards, nor did we think that we wanted to make that many cards, but we wanted to start testing and learning and seeing what it felt like. And so Secret Lair became a place to do that. I think, people have seen, we learned a lot. We learned so much the first time we did it. The way that Stranger Things works is a little different than Walking Dead. We're doing the in-universe alts that appear later to kind of break down that barrier of mechanically unique content being exclusively behind Secret Lair. But frankly, this is a journey that we're on. Like, we're learning this as we go. We're trying stuff and paying attention and listening a lot. And it's one of the real strengths of Secret Lair. Secret Lair doesn't have to get it perfect because we can learn and kind of apply those learnings.
And there's another thing, you mentioned this, I just want to stress this a little more, is one of the things Secret Lair does is not everything is like, we make sets. So like, there are some things like Lord of the Rings, it's a whole world. It's something where we can make a set out of it. But something like Walking Dead is hard. It doesn't lend itself quite as easily. Like, it lends itself to a bunch of cards, which are really cool, but it doesn't lend itself to a whole set. And that one of the things Secret Lair can do is say, hey, if this is really cool as 6 cards and not as 300 cards, we can do that. And I think that's another interesting thing is like some properties, look, the coolest thing we're going to do is, hit the main characters and get out. That's the best we're going to do with that because, not every IP lends itself to this ever-evolving combat game, right?
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, and so Secret Lair has always been, and it will continue to be this place where, frankly, part of its job is to take the pressure off all the other stuff we do. We don't have to take a full set swing. We don't have to sign an experimental artist and give them a bunch of main set mythics or whatever. We can try these things, learn from them, and yeah, as you said, we've already taken a lot of those learnings from Walking Dead, and we are like the Lord of the Rings set will be much better because of what we did with Walking Dead. Mm-hmm. And that's just a wonderful thing that I think is going to make a lot of people happy, even if they never saw the Walking Dead cards or cared about them. They're part of this journey, and they're kind of making us better at our jobs across the board.
Okay, so since I'm now at my desk and I'm at work, I want to ask one final question before we wrap up for the day, which is, what are your final thoughts? It's sort of, we're year plus into Secret Lair, or years plus year into Secret Lair. What are your final thoughts? Sort of like, where do you, when you think of Secret Lair, where's your brain at right now?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is a deeply fun project to be a part of and to get to work on. I'm really honored to be able to be part of it. We are working on a lot of fun stuff. As you mentioned, we just got through some meetings where we kind of looked at some stuff we're doing next year on a bunch of fronts. But from new cards to new approaches to looking at the packaging to looking at the experience of going to the website, there's just a ton of stuff where every day we can come in, ask some questions, try some experiments, and tee some stuff up. So Secret Lair is going to be weirder and bigger and better next year than it was this year. And I think it'll be even weirder and bigger and better the year after that. And that's just a great feeling to be a part of.
Yeah, one of the things I just want to say as I mean, not that I'm not involved, there's a few things I had a hand in, but as more a spectator of the Secret Lairs than as participator, I'm amazed. Like every time I see new ones, like my job on the Magic side, on the normal Premiere set side of things, is to keep pushing boundaries, right? So, I really appreciate when other people in other places are pushing boundaries. I really like every time we see new stuff, you guys keep trying. Like, and there's some future stuff the audience hasn't even seen yet. Like, you are not resting on your laurels. You guys are pushing boundaries and doing cool stuff, and I love that. So,
yeah, it is. It's a great team that works on it, and we're constantly. Like, okay, what's next? How do we push ourselves? How do we challenge ourselves? And so, yeah, we truly hope people see stuff in here that we're doing now and next year and the year after that. I hope somewhere in some of this, people see something that just makes them smile. It makes them grin. It makes them be a little bit extra happy that day that they're part of Magic, because there's just a lot of cool stuff. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to put something out into the universe that speaks to everyone out there. At least once, so it's a fun project.
Okay, guys. Well, I'm at my desk, so we all know what that means. It means it's the end of my drive to work. So instead of talking magic, it's time for me to be making magic. And I want to thank you, Mark. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks everyone for listening, and it was super fun.
And I'll see all you guys next time. Bye bye.